is the Russian Ministry of Defense starting to crack down on its potentially disloyal generals? And is Ukraine taking advantage of the chaos to advance in an unexpected direction? I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. It's June 29th, 2023. This is your daily Ukraine update. Let's get right into it. Okay, first, let's take a look at the control map. The biggest change is actually north of Bakhmut along this salient here near Orikovo, Vasilivka. As you can see, Ukrainian forces making some advances along this roadway, flipping control of it to Ukrainian hands. Control of some of these roadways can be significant, though road intersections generally are somewhat seen as more desirable. Nonetheless, controlling, separating Russian forces from this roadway is going to be helpful if Ukraine expects to advance in and around this Burkiva direction. You can see that while they've had some Russian forces have advanced a little bit, taking back some territory around this key intersection around Burkiva. What I think they're hoping to do is maybe potentially try to create some sort of encirclement type situation, pressuring forces on two sides to force a withdrawal from this Burkiva reservoir. And the truth is that it seems like while Bakhmut is proving itself to be some of the most productive axes of advance for Ukraine, and it follows logic that, again, I've been saying for some time now that let me fix my camera here. Everything's all weird. I've been saying for a while that you don't want to attack Russia where they are at their best prepared. And they have spent an absolutely eye-watering amount of time and resources preparing Zaporizhzhia for defense. So the fact that Ukraine attempted to launch a huge portion of its counteroffensive there continues to be a head-scratcher of a decision. But where Russian forces were not able to construct deliberate fortifications in and around Bakhmut primarily, you're seeing much better progress, right? And it makes sense. I think there's going to be fewer minefields. There's going to be fewer defensive structures, fewer pre-planned fires. And that's why you're seeing almost as much progress in Bakhmut, which seems to be the work of maybe only a single brigade, as you're seeing by the multiple brigades that appear to be engaged in and around Zaporizhzhia. Now, as we see here, there is still extensive fortification work behind Bakhmut, the so-called Wagner line built by Wagner Group before their withdrawal from the city. But again, I don't think this has been developed in some time. This may have been left. While these fortifications are pretty extensive, they may have been left unmaintained by the Russian MoD when they took over the fighting. And as you can see, there's also a number of ways kind of through this, so to speak. So there's a number of ways this could go in Ukraine's favor, certainly. But I also want to take a look at the live map. And as you guys can see, again, it looks like Ukraine is starting to pivot its offensive work, right? It's continuing to push here in and around Rivnopol. But you could see outside of Kurdyomivka and outside of Bakhmut itself, there's a much more extensive offensive work taking place. And I think this is Ukraine doubling down on its success, right? Where they're going to somewhere where they are achieving some level of operational success, which is almost certainly the right call. Probably a call they should have made a bit earlier, but nonetheless, I think the opportunity exists here to achieve a significant breakthrough, potentially. As we've seen, again, there's a lot of opportunities, but you have to see Ukraine start to engage in some level of war of maneuver. They're not going to out-attrition the Russian forces. Russian forces are very good at this sort of positional, attritional warfare. And what Ukraine needs to do is create situations where Russia is either forced to withdraw, where large numbers of their forces are cut off or annihilated. Or where they can disrupt Russian command and control in such an extensive way that they can create some level of chaos in the backfield. Again, a breakthrough and turn deep into Russian lines. That's what's going to really give Ukraine the success it needs to have. That's what they're equipped to do. So certainly many challenges remain ahead for Ukraine. Now, if you guys want to see the combat videos coming from the front, and you believe in what I'm doing here, the best way to support the channel is to become a member on combatvetnews.com. There's a lot of these major platforms, YouTube, Patreon, they have demonetized or age restricted a ton of even sometimes innocuous combat footage. So what I've done is created a series of tiers. Any one of these membership tiers gets you access to an exclusive room on the Discord, as well as, of course, the members-only content. Every couple of days, I drop a new video where I check out the viral combat footage coming to us from the front lines. It gives us insights we can't get anywhere else, and it's the best way to support the channel and keep me independent. So if you want, check it out, combatvetnews.com. Now, here's where things are getting pretty complicated. A number of news outlets are reporting that Wagner-affiliated General Sergei Sotovikin is being detained by Russian forces over his alleged role in the Russian mutiny. So there's a bunch of weird stuff that's been going on. First off, an independent Belarusian monitoring group reported that Prigozhin's jet took off from Belarus, flew towards Russia, flew to Moscow, and then immediately took off for St. Petersburg. Weird. Igor Girkin, who generally seems to have the ear of a number of Russian officials, said that Prigozhin returned to Russia to negotiate with unspecified Russian officials and the Wagner Commanders Council. So it may be hammering out the specifics of a deal that he struck, but again, it can't be confirmed. Now, where things get even stranger is the fact that some Russian sources are speculating that Wagner's rebellion is causing a sort of purge among Russian commanders. Now, what's interesting is that there is a belief that some of the Russian MoD or the Russian Federal Protective Service, an internal affairs agency, are looking at individual unit commanders as well as high-level military leadership, basically trying to gauge if their indecisiveness in suppressing the rebellion indicated some level of support for the Wagner group. And this is, of course, like all political purges, going to target those who already don't have the favor of other more powerful or favored individuals. Commander of the Russian Airborne Forces and a rumored deputy theater commander, Colonel Mikhail Teplinsky, has assumed overall theater command from the chief of the general staff and overall theater commander, Gary Gerasimov, likely taking place after this rebellion. Now, this is weird because Gerasimov is very publicly an opponent of Prigozhin. Prigozhin called for his removal by name. And so the idea that Gerasimov, if there's only two people who we can be confident are not Wagner affiliated, it's Gerasimov and Shoigu. So why is he being sidelined? Right? It says Gerasimov will retain his post as chief of the general staff, but no longer have responsibility for Russian operations in Ukraine. And that an atmosphere of suspicion has enveloped the general staff. Affiliates of Gerasimov are accused of indecision and failure, while affiliates of the deputy commander of Sotovikin are accused of complicity in the rebellion. So this is really interesting to me because it seems like it's a little bit of column A and column B. If indeed Wagner was offered a deal in which Gerasimov and Shoigu got the boot, this would be moving that direction. But the other weird thing is that Sotovikin early in Wagner's rebellion came out publicly and said, go home, Prigozhin, which was unexpected. Sotovikin is known as a Wagner loyalist. And so it's interesting in that perhaps in one sense, both of these individuals may actually be purged as part of the deal struck by Prigozhin, purged or sidelined. Now, it's also possible that the surface reporting is the true reporting, that this is just a overall purge, and that indecisiveness and support for Wagner Group at any point are cause for purging. Certainly, it wouldn't be the first or the last time that the Russian armed forces purge officers for even the slightest indication of political objectionable activities. Stalin famously did it in the 30s, basically removed an entire generation of combat capable officers right before the Second World War. Not a great call. Right. And of course, supposedly Sotovikin is reportedly under arrest, and it may indicate a purge of MoD figures viewed as disloyal. We'll see. We'll see who actually ends up on the chopping block. And of course, the Kremlin really needs to figure out how they're going to thread the needle, so to speak, in order to continue to have the general staff they need, not isolate the Wagner fighters, who they also need, and still ensure the loyalty of the MoD. Certainly, there's a lot of anxiety going on at the Kremlin. Anyway, guys, that is all I had for you. Thank you guys so much. And of course, we got to shout out the members of combatvetnews.com. Thank you guys so much to our Colonel tier members, and thanks to all of our Lieutenant tier members. I appreciate you so much, and I will see you guys in the next one.